Hi everyone, this is Jason Burack of Wall Street from Main Street. I just want to do a short video today. I've been doing interviews lately, guys, with David McElvaney, and I've been trying to touch whether it's articles we post on the Wall Street from Main Street Facebook fan page or my commentaries when I do a show with Welcome to Dystopia with Eric Dubin, the theories, the opinions, the white papers, the books that are coming out, the articles, the op-eds that are coming out from these academics are totally delusional. I don't know if these guys don't have any common sense or they're getting paid six-figure salaries like what was revealed in the documentary Inside Job, where the Federal Reserve was giving these guys, six-figure extra grants and other perks to write these propaganda research papers. But, I'm going to show you just some of the delusional stuff that's coming out of academia, these Keynesian economics, these Keynesian economists, these PhD economists, neo-Keynesians. Sometimes they use Milton Friedman, although, most of them are neo-Keynesians. So this guy, Naranya, oh God, I'm not going to get his last name right. Anyway, let's just skip his last name. Anyway, so he writes a Bloomberg op-ed piece at the beginning of this month. Want a free market? Abolish cash. So his argument is basically saying that the free market wants even more negative interest rates. Yeah, right. So this is a case where the governments and their central banks have intentionally suppressed interest rates. And this is like what Harry Browne and Erwin Schiff, two great libertarian Austrian school thinkers used to say, when the government breaks your leg and then hands you a crutch. So we have a case now where these Keynesians have totally destroyed the free market for the cost of capital for interest rates. And they're saying that's free market forces, but there's no free market at all. Not when you have primary dealers, which are the large Wall Street investment banks that are forced to buy treasury bonds if they can't dump them on a sucker pension fund or someone else. So, this is a huge scam. So they're trying to come out with these, propaganda pieces, and it's not just the mainstream media who's doing it. It's also, academia. These guys work in tandem, and this is totally delusional. So they're saying, we should abolish cash and we should go full negative interest rates, and that'll fix the economy, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I want to show you guys how delusional academia is. Some of you guys just don't get it. These kids are coming out of school and they're believing it. There's a lot of people in the business community who still have hopium and believe the government numbers, unfortunately. Okay, Paul Krugman's column recently from only a couple days ago. Today is September 15th, by the way. So this is from 2 days ago. And he's writing, "The Conscience of a Liberal, Why Are the Media Objectively Pro-Trump?" I wasn't aware the mainstream media was pro-Trump. He's saying the amount of attention given to the Clinton Foundation despite absence of any evidence of wrongdoing. Oh my God. This is like, the total where they take the truth that's come out about the Clinton Foundation and the conspiracy theories, and then you see on CNN headlines, I saw this last week at the gym, splash for hours on CNN that Trump's pay to play. When we know that, Trump may be pay to play. I don't know some of the things Trump has done. Trump has admitted that he's, paid lobbyists and given money to politicians on both sides of the aisle. That's the cost of doing business for a lot of businessmen nowadays, unfortunately. That's just how corrupt the system is. But, the mainstream media spin stuff. So they'll take stuff that's true about something, and they'll take that phrase and they'll totally spin it with propaganda and put on something else. The mainstream media is a bunch of political hacks. Paul Krugman's not a real economist. He's a political hack. And a lot of the people at the Federal Reserve are political hacks too. So we got the Lael Brainerd lady. She's got caught donating money to Hillary Clinton, and she was in the Obama administration. And she's really dovish. So it's just amazing. The articles. I'll attach a link to this. This is, if you guys want to laugh, welcome to Dystopia, guys. This is just a hilarious column. He's saying there's no evidence about the Clinton Foundation. There's only no evidence if you stick your head in the sand. If you're a prosecutor, either you love Hillary Clinton, you worship her as an idol, or you're afraid to prosecute because you're worried about your family being, hurt or kidnapped or something like that. So, these books that these academics are putting out, we have the Curse of Cash by Ken Rogoff. One of our listeners brought up how poorly the ratings reviews are. And so it's got 2 stars on Amazon, 40 reviews. But you know what? These guys don't care what the majority of us on Main Street think. They're going to keep pushing it. They're going to keep doubling down on these dumb policies. They're going to keep doubling down on, more stimulus programs, on more currency swaps, on higher tax increases. If the Democrats win back control of both houses, if they can get a 2/3 majority, I can guarantee you then within a couple years they're going to push some type of carbon cap and trade tax or some type of, national online sales tax or value added tax in the United States. They're just going to layer on more and more taxes. So yeah, Main Street knows. There's people on Main Street who are reading this book, and the reviews say it's a POS, a piece of shit. But these guys are not working for you and me on Main Street. These guys are getting paid, these academics, 6-figure salaries, probably even more than that in consulting fees and speaking fees, to come out with this economic propaganda that benefits the government. Now, some of the Wall Street bank CEOs are saying interest rates need to go higher, but I don't think they understand their derivatives exposure and just how bad. So the ones who are saying, like Jamie Dimon and others who are saying, well, interest rates need to go higher and they need to normalize, I don't think they understand that the system can't really handle it. But, maybe they don't care, and, they're just hoping for bailouts. So, Wall Street, academic books like this, like The Curse of Cash and Capital in the 21st Century, which advocates for governments should unite into basically a one world government and create a global IRS so they can enforce a global wealth tax. This actually has better reviews. I guess there's a lot more socialists who like this book than the other one. Yeah, so definitely go listen. We talked about this in the David McElvaney interview. I apologize about the audio. Testing the microphone out now. Hopefully the sound quality is better. Carmen Reinhart, she wrote actually the book before this Ken Rogoff book. She wrote the previous book with him about This Time is Different, about government debt. And this interview is over an hour and well worth your time that David McElvaney interviews her. And she talks about how, government's going to change the rules and there's going to be tax increases, either directly or indirectly tax increases. She says it's not a real currency war because all the governments are trying to take turns devaluing. So we have, the only real currency war that there is between the G7 countries and the rest of the developing countries, because they don't care any of the policies that they screw over with the developing countries. So Japan, the United States, Europe, and England don't really care what the policies do to the emerging markets, really. They'll probably just end up having to bail them out or do, large currency swaps anyway. Actually, Jim Rickards, I don't have this story up, but Jim Rickards actually just wrote a piece saying that, for the Daily Reckoning, saying that China, once they join, the RMB joins the SDR, it will be even easier for the US and China to do currency swaps. And he thinks going forward that for China's dollar-denominated debt or their corporations or banks, the Federal Reserve in the US may have to do large currency swap lines with them too. So, this is just the normal status quo. There's going to be more inflation on top of inflation on top of inflation, orders of magnitude of inflation coming. They're going to be screaming at deflation, and depending upon what your definition of deflation is, there might be some deflation temporarily in asset prices or things like that, or consumer discretionary items. But the things you need every day to survive, you're really, those costs are probably not going to fall. And new taxes are going to be layered on, and currencies are going to be devalued. And history tells us with the new global economic systems, after when there is a reset the last 100 or so years, there's been a couple times already with that. We had the gold exchange standard after World War I. We had the Bretton Woods system after World War II. Both of those were highly inflationary for the entire global economy, and the government statistics didn't show any of this inflation really. So I would bet that there's going to be a new liquidity pump probably, at least for a little while, with the SDR. China has a lot of Keynesians there. They are stockpiling gold, but they also want currency flexibility. They've devalued their currency, the RMB, a lot for their own citizens in the last few years. So to say that China's going to go to a gold-backed currency is probably, at least in the short term, unlikely, because they have been doing devaluations already on their own citizens, and there are Keynesians in power, but they are buying gold. So it's some kind of hedging system with China. I don't think China's going to go, in the short term at least, to a full gold-backed RMB. It doesn't seem that limits their flexibility to monetary and fiscal policy that their central bank and government can do. A couple more stories I want to get to before I let you guys go with the short video. This one sickens me. It's the Wells Fargo story. 5,300 Wells Fargo employees fired, over 2 million phony accounts. These guys were padding, creating fake accounts so they could get extra bonuses. The lady in charge of this, a supervisor, actually made $125 million in bonuses. I don't know if any of these bonuses are going to be clawed back. None of these executives or employees are probably going to face any, felony or jail time for fraud. They should. Also, what sickens me, guys, too, is in the past, 15, 20 years ago, I wasn't in markets. I was still, a teenager or younger kid back then. I did want to, start my own business, and I did have, capitalist dreams and wanted to be a successful entrepreneur. I didn't know a lot about investing back then, but I knew I wanted to be entrepreneurial. But I would say, though, that 15, 20, 30 years ago, decades, at least 15 years ago, when the scandal like this broke, the stock price could have potentially collapsed on Wells Fargo. People would have been worried about the reputation of the firm. Customers could have potentially started in droves pulling their money out. The stock price would have crashed 20, 30% very quickly. We didn't have that. So, in these managed or manipulated markets, whatever's going on, I don't know if it's just totally the morality of society and most people don't care and don't think it's going to be that big a deal. But, in the past when morality was different in society, and there wasn't as there was a different levels of manipulation of market, and it was a lot harder for the people in the powers that be, the elites, to respond to crises. They can respond to them much faster now with high frequency trading computers and creating digital money with their computers from central banks or Bank of International Settlements, etc. The stock price for Wells Fargo on a scandal like this, it would have probably ended up being more like Chipotle stock. And Chipotle was attacked, I think. From reading other accounts, I think Chipotle was the victim of corporate espionage. There was a genetically modified. It was not in nature an E. coli strain. That was a normal E. coli strain that people had seen before. It was a man-made, unique one. So I think Chipotle was attacked to food poisoning for customers because they've been running, this anti-GMO campaign. Chipotle stock crashed. So it dropped a lot, and it's still, stuck in a trading range, and it might still be trapped in a low range for at least another year or two. We don't know. But eventually, they'll probably be able to repair their business. That's probably what should have happened to Wells Fargo. But if the market was more of a free market. But we have so much, I don't know if it's fully morality of society and most people don't care, or they view, it's only 5,300 employees that were fired. That's a lot of employees for fraud, guys. I mean, these guys should be getting there are good employees at Wells Fargo, I'm sure, but that amount of fraud in the past would have destroyed the stock for a while, would have drastically hurt the reputation of the firm. And here we are, the stock price barely moved for the most part. So, it's just amazing. Like I said, it's unfortunate. I don't know if the money is going to be clawed back for the bonuses, but these guys made huge bonuses off of this. I'll attach links to these articles if you want to go more in depth. And then, none of these guys are probably going to end up in prison for fraud like what happened in the 1980 savings and loan crisis. Even with more free markets and less regulation, if there's massive fraud like this, the guys should still go to prison for a long, long time. Even China sends guys to prison for a long, long time, if not worse, punitive damages than that. Okay, so the other thing that caught my eye, one of the world's biggest pension fund lost $52 billion when the Japanese stock market fell. So that's Japan's government pension investment fund. So, maybe they're going to raise taxes on Japan to make up for that. So it'll be interesting to see what these governments decide to do. You guys know what my opinion is about this with the pension fund shortfall. And I think that basically, taxes are going to go up. I think, unfortunately, inflation and taxes is the new normal going forward. So, it depends if Trump or Hillary Clinton wins the election. It's looking like Trump will be pulling ahead now that the Hillary health concerns and other problems, people don't trust her nearly as much. A lot of the mainstream people don't trust her now, the stuff that's coming out. The mainstream sheeple are more waking up. Either they won't vote Hillary, or maybe they'll vote Trump, or maybe they'll vote Gary Johnson, which would take away votes from Hillary. But, if Hillary wins the election, Obamacare is still in play. If Trump wins, maybe he will be able to repeal Obamacare, and that'll reduce the cost of healthcare and lower that Obamacare tax on you guys. That's another hidden tax that most people don't think about too much. So, just layering on taxes, unfortunately, that's the new normal. Okay, so we have an oil price correction here, a big major oil price, and Mo did a video last week that the oil market could have a major correction still. I think it could potentially. But this is an interesting article from Robert Rapier. I should have him back on. I try to have him on every 3 or 4 months about the oil market. He's probably one of the best oil analysts, oil and energy analysts in the world. Over 20 years experience working in different jobs and also investing in the oil and energy industry. So he just has a wealth of information about those industries. And he did a nice article. I'll put this link for you guys up. These are companies to look at on your watch list if there is an oil correction, of companies that are actually still making free cash flow, at least $1 billion per year in free cash flow. So this is something to consider, as a contrarian. For those of you guys who missed some gold and silver stocks, there's been a little bit of a correction here in gold and silver. If there is a large correction, either in the paper gold or silver metals price, or in the mining shares themselves, if it continues to be a larger correction, I think we're going to see another large round of deals from the gold and silver royalty and streaming companies. So your Franco-Nevadas, your Silver Wheatons, your Royal Golds, your Sandstorm Golds, your Osisko Gold royalties, those are really the top 5. There's some smaller gold and silver royalty companies also, but they don't have nearly as much cash on the balance sheet and cash flow and revolving credit facilities in order to do deals. So I would expect the top 5 royalty and streaming companies, they've been waiting for weaknesses to do deals. The Silver Wheaton CEO, Randy Smallwood, he said that the next round of deals, there's going to be more deals soon, but they're probably, for Silver Wheaton, only going to be $500 million or less. If you paid attention to those markets in the last couple years, they were doing billion-dollar deals or larger in the last 3 or 4 years. So the deals are there's more deals available, but they're going to be a bit smaller, but they're still going to be accretive for the most part, either near-term cash flow, 18 months or less for good cash flow, or immediate cash flow. So that's what you want out of a business. You want a business that when there's weakness in the share price, they're looking to increase market share, or they can do deals on weakness in the industry where they can make long-term sense and add more low-cost cash flow to the business and diversify cash flows further, hopefully without taking on too much debt or selling too many shares in equity. So I'm going to attach all these articles that I talked about, but guys, it's very tough out there. Things are going to get really interesting now with the election literally less than a couple months away. So it's going to be a really fun ride. If you don't care who's going to end up the candidate, it's going to be reality television for sure. Do you guys think that Hillary's actually going to debate? Do you think Trump's going to destroy her in the debate? Should be some interesting stuff. I would love to see Trump. I'm not going to vote for Trump, as you guys know, but I would actually love to see Trump tear her a new one in the debates. But, maybe they're going to cancel the debates or come up with some type of a new format where Hillary gets bathroom breaks or some other type of scheme to hide how sick she is and actually give her a chance in the debates. But, her health problems are just deteriorating so rapidly that, she might not even, I'm not saying she's going to die or anything, but she might not even make it health-wise to where people can actually trust her to be a good president in the election. I hear a lot of people who aren't, pro-Trump and who were considering voting for Hillary start to doubt her now with their health problems. So, there's Secret Service agents who work for Hillary Clinton who hate her so much because she treats them so poorly. There's 3 books out about how poorly Secret Service agents how poorly Hillary Clinton, has treated Secret Service agents, that supposedly a couple months ago the Secret Service agents were willing to risk their jobs and they violated a bunch of confidentiality agreements and they leaked information to Alex Jones how sick Hillary was getting months ago. So, people are turning on the Clintons. People are just fed up. And, hopefully more people wake up. So hopefully you guys like this video. The world is just a delusional place right now. Reality is so dystopian. Got to protect yourself with precious metals, physical gold and silver. You got to keep some cash. There will be opportunities available if you have cash. Metal is also part of your liquidity. And, unfortunately, guys, I think the people in power is the crazy stuff. Look at the reviews of these books, these academic books. They're bad, except for except for this one, which has a high socialist rating. Global wealth tax, one world government globalists. Okay, well, you know, the future is bright if you protect yourself and your family and friends, but at a macro level scale, guys, like the people in power, the elites, are just trying to screw us over more and more with top-down controls, you know, scumbags like George Soros and Hillary Clinton and etc. So everyone have a good week. I may be a good rest of your week and enjoy your weekend. I may be having Pippa Malmgren on tomorrow to talk about Signals, her new book. I just finished it. I highly recommend it. I'm actually not sure. I spoke to her in a couple emails, and she's so busy she hasn't gotten back to me. So I'm going to send her an email now that this video is done recording. Okay, bye, everyone.